Uncle Phil and Jazz always collided in some ways, and this ended up in Jazz being thrown out of the house. Every time Jazz appeared wearing his brown patterned shirt, we all knew that he was going to be thrown out of the house. These scenes always made Fresh Prince fans laugh. We are going to give you 5 times Jazz was thrown outside the house by Uncle Phil. In the first scene, Will Smith had traded Ashley's violin with a set of drums for her to practice. Uncle Phil was furious at Will because he wanted his daughter to learn the violin. Will asks Jazz to be Ashley's new music teacher, and he meets with the Banks family. Jazz showed Ashley how to play the drums whilst Will was dancing to the rhythm. Days later, everyone at the house was annoyed by the constant drum beating and complained to Uncle Phil about all the disturbance. Uncle Phil called Ashley to come downstairs, and they all came down, Will, Ashley and Jazz. It was tea time and the family were enjoying the Brandenburg Concerto's music, when Uncle Phil asked someone to turn the volume up. Will told Jazz to crank the music up, and instead of turning the music up, Jazz started to scratch the record, making Uncle Phil so angry, and he threw him outside the house. In the second scene, Will Smith started developing an interest in poetry and was home writing some poems when Jazz visited him. Will recited a poem he was working on and asked Jazz to help him finish up the poem. Uncle Phil came into the house from work and saw the boys in the living room. Jazz was starving and asked and they were going to eat, and Uncle Phil denounced him.
Looks like you eat here often.
Jazz made fun of Uncle Phil's weight, and he was dragged and thrown out of the house. The third scene, it was Jeffrey's birthday and everyone was getting presents for him when Will insisted on gifting G with a woman. Will went to the mall to find a woman for Jazz, and they returned home with Jazz empty-handed. Will tells the family that they couldn't find a woman for G, and Hillary mocks their pickup skills. Jazz tried his lines on Hillary and she was annoyed, calling her dad. Uncle Phil stood up and dragged Jazz and threw him outside the house. The fourth scene, Will and Jazz stayed up so late on a school night, and they heard Uncle Phil coming down the stairs, and Jazz hid in the kitchen. Uncle Phil went into the kitchen to get a snack when Jazz tried to escape, and Phil started sniffing around, making Jazz hide behind his back. Uncle Phil said that he smelled cheap cologne and fried chicken, and Jazz resented that, making his presence known. Uncle Phil dragged him and threw him outside the house. The fifth scene is different from the other scenes, and here is why.
Joke's on you, Mr. Banks. You can't throw me out, because I'm already outside.
Will, Carlton and Hillary played rock, paper, scissors to see who could have the car for the weekend, and Will lost the bet. Will went and bought a used convertible car, and they were playing loud music in the driveway. Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv rushed outside to see the car and condemned Will because the car had no car insurance. Uncle Phil mocks the car dealer for selling the car with no insurance, and Jazz resents the statement. He started laughing at Uncle Phil because he was already outside, but Uncle Phil dragged him and threw him inside the house. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned to watch part 2 of the video.